What if the reason you feel completely exhausted every morning isn't actually because you didn't get enough sleep?
Right, which is what we always blame it on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What if it's because you are aggressively pursuing comfort? I mean, think about your morning. You wake up in this nice climate-controlled room.
Under the warm covers.
Yeah, you stay under there as long as humanly possible, right? Then you shuffle over to a warm shower, pour yourself a hot cup of coffee. We are just completely wired to seek the easy, insulated route.
Oh, absolutely.
But today, we're diving into a routine that deliberately shatters that insulation. It is, frankly, an agonizingly uncomfortable, totally free daily practice. And it only takes like 4 to 8 minutes.
Which is nothing, really.
Nothing. Yet, it claims to completely change the trajectory of your biology.
Yeah, so we are pulling this directly from the insights of human biologist Gary Brecka. Specifically, his methodology that he shared on the Ultimate Human platform. We are looking at a very specific, beginner-friendly breathwork protocol. It's designed for you, the listener, if you want high-impact, practical knowledge, but, usually give up because these wellness trends just get way too complicated, way too fast.
Okay, let's unpack this because the world of wellness and biohacking is incredibly loud right now. I mean, the moment you type breathwork into a search bar, you are hit with just a tidal wave of information.
Overwhelming.
It really is. The source material lists a few of these styles. There's shamanic breathwork, vivation, pranayama, transformational holotropic. It's dizzying.
Yeah, you have one guy telling you to, hold your left nostril closed.
Right, and another telling you to chant.
Yes.
Or another requiring this supervised hour-long session. It's so easy to feel like you're failing before you even take a single breath.
What's fascinating here is Brecka's core philosophy for beginners, which just completely rejects that perfectionism.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, his goal for you isn't to execute some ancient technique with flawless mechanics. The goal is to create an immediate, undeniable physiological impact on your mood, your energy, cognitive function, and even your short-term recall.
So it's about getting quick results.
Exactly. He argues that to build a lasting habit, especially one that requires you to be so uncomfortable, you need to feel tangible benefits on day one. You essentially need to get addicted to how good it feels afterward.
Well, I have to push back hard on this right out of the gate.
Okay, let's hear it.
Every biohacker, athlete, health influencer on the internet right now is practically shouting about nasal breathing. I mean, people are taping their mouths shut at night.
Yeah, mouth taping is huge right now.
Right. Nose breathing is treated like an absolute religion for filtering air and calming the nervous system. So Brecka is saying that whether I breathe through my nose or my mouth doesn't matter at all.
Pretty much, yeah.
Aren't we just intentionally triggering a stress response if we completely bypass the nose?
We are entirely intentionally triggering a stress response. That is the fundamental mechanism of this practice.
Wait, really? We want the stress.
Yes. The source describes this as a modified Wim Hof style of breathwork. And for context, Wim Hof breathing generally involves periods of intense hyperventilation followed by breath retention.
Right, the ice bath guy.
Exactly. So the priority here isn't to calm the nervous system with filtered, slow nasal breathing. The priority is creating a massive systemic shock through the sheer volume of oxygen.
Ah, okay.
If opening your mouth wide and gasping gets more air, and it usually feels more natural to a beginner, the instruction is just to use your mouth.
You know, it reminds me of trying to learn a really complex swimming stroke, like the butterfly.
Oh yeah, that's a tough one.
It is. And if you tell a beginner to focus on the exact millimeter angle of their wrist as it enters the water, they're going to freeze up and sink.
They'll completely panic.
Exactly. So Brecka is essentially saying, forget the wrist angle. Just thrash around until you feel the water holding you up. Experience the buoyancy first, and we'll worry about the finesse later.
That's a great analogy. The mechanism of delivery is secondary to the payload. He wants you to experience that chemical shift immediately.
Right.
But to trigger that shift properly, the physical environment where you do this is surprisingly rigid. It's essentially this anti-comfort setup.
Okay. Let's talk about those rules of engagement, because moving from the psychological hurdle to the physical environment is where this gets intense.
It really does.
The source lays out 2 strict boundaries. First, you have to do this within 30 minutes of waking up. And second, you must go outside.
Not near an open window. Outside.
Outside, not in your kitchen. Which brings us back to that striking quote from the source material. Aging is the aggressive pursuit of comfort.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's a heavy statement that reframes our entire relationship with our modern morning routines.
It really is. And I can hear people listening right now saying, I live on the fourth floor of a high-rise in Chicago in January. I don't have a patio.
Right, or asking if they really have to go out if it's pouring rain.
Exactly. It feels like we're deliberately picking a fight with the morning. You walk up to the door, you see a few icy sprinkles on the glass, and your brain instantly screams to stay on the couch.
But that exact moment of hesitation is the target. The point isn't about having a beautiful backyard. It's about breaking the barrier between you and the elements.
So even in an apartment.
Yes, if you are in that high-rise, you open the window as wide as it goes and stick your upper body out into the freezing wind. Stepping into less than ideal weather is a psychological victory before your day has even really begun.
Wow, okay.
You are actively resisting that aggressive pursuit of comfort. You're telling your biology that you dictate the terms of your survival, not the external temperature.
So you win the mental battle. You force yourself out the door. But there is a massive biological mechanism happening the second you step out there, right?
Yeah.
Beyond just the cold shock.
Oh, absolutely. Doing this routine at first light, with as much skin exposed to the environment as possible, sets off a cascade of biological bonuses.
Because of the sunlight.
Yes. The source emphasizes that this regulates your circadian rhythm. Let's look at how that actually works. When early morning light, even through thick clouds, hits your retina, it sends a direct signal to a master clock in your brain.
Okay. And what does that signal do?
It immediately halts the production of melatonin, which is the hormone making you groggy, and it triggers a sharp spike in cortisol.
And we usually talk about cortisol like it's the enemy, like it's just pure stress.
Right. In a chronic all-day sense, it can be. But in the morning, the cortisol awakening response is exactly what you want.
Interesting.
It raises your body temperature, increases your blood pressure slightly, and makes you alert. You are aligning your internal biological clock with the external rotation of the Earth.
Which helps later on, right?
Exactly. You're setting a timer that will actually help you sleep better 16 hours later, all while preparing for this respiratory shock.
Okay, so picture this. You've woken up. It's been less than 30 minutes. You've dragged yourself outside onto the balcony, or you're leaning out a city window.
Right.
It's windy, it's cold, you've won the psychological battle, and the light is hitting your eyes. Now, we channel that environmental aggression into your physiology. How do we actually perform this modified breathing without, overthinking it?
First, we really have to establish the safety parameters, because we are dealing with genuine physiological shifts here.
Definitely.
Safety first.
The source talks about actively changing your oxygen tension. And oxygen tension refers to the partial pressure of oxygen dissolved in your blood. When you hyperventilate, you are radically altering the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide in your bloodstream.
That sounds intense.
It is. Because of that sudden chemical shift, you must sit in a chair that has a back on it, or you need to lay down flat on the ground.
Yeah, the source makes it crystal clear. You cannot do this standing up. And you definitely cannot do this while driving your car to work.
No, absolutely not.
Because the physical reality is that you will likely experience some intense, borderline alarming sensations.
Yeah, it is entirely normal to get lightheaded. It is normal for your fingers, your toes, and your lips to feel completely tingly, or even numb.
Numb lips. Wow.
Yep, you might even feel distinct temperature changes in your neck. For someone new to this, the brain instantly interprets that tingling and lightheadedness as a danger signal. The instinct is to stop.
But Brecca's instruction is to embrace those, right? Breathe into those effects.
Exactly.
They aren't signs of damage. They are proof that the protocol is actively altering your blood chemistry. You're shifting your body into an alkaline state by blowing off all that carbon dioxide. The sensations will pass, and they are just part of the process.
So you are seated securely. You are prepared for the tingling. The actual technique strips away all the Zen meditative pressure we usually associate with breathwork.
Yeah, this isn't yoga breathing.
Not at all. Becca describes it as breathing in the most obnoxious form possible.
The most obnoxious form possible. He wants you to imagine that you have been held underwater for a minute and a half.
Which is terrifying.
Right. You genuinely thought your lungs were going to burst. You thought you weren't going to make it. And you have just violently broken the surface of the water. You are gasping. You pulling air in. Like, your survival depends on it.
It is an active, highly muscular event.
Yeah.
The source provides very specific physical cues to ensure you're moving enough air. As you pull that obnoxious breath in, you physically raise your shoulders.
Oh, okay, so shoulders up.
Yes. The anatomical goal there is to pull the apex, the very top of your lungs, upward, opening up space. At the exact same time, you pretend there is a string tied to your belly button and someone is violently pulling that string out to the wall in front of you.
You know, I was reading that. It gave me this massive aha moment. It made me think of trying to inflate one of those really cheap, stiff, crumpled balloons.
Oh yeah, the ones that are impossible to blow up.
Yeah, exactly. You can't just blow into it gently. Nothing happens because the rubber's too tight. You have to grab it and physically stretch the rubber out with your hands a few times to loosen it up before you even try to put air in it.
That's exactly what's happening in your body.
Right. In this scenario, you are physically stretching the rubber, your diaphragm and your intercostal muscles, to force that air all the way down into the lower lobes of the lungs. You're breathing so deeply that the diaphragm moves down and literally massages your intestines.
That is the exact mechanical goal.
Okay.
This isn't taking a deep breath to relax your mind. This is aggressively engaging all the accessory muscles of respiration to flood the blood with oxygen.
So you take these massive, obnoxious breaths, raising the shoulders, pulling the belly, but that's only half the equation. After you force all this oxygen into the system, the real magic and the real difficulty happens in the silence.
With breath hold.
Here's where it gets really interesting. You are doing this in rounds, and you are starting very small. 3 rounds of 5 breaths. You take 5 of these massive shoulder-raising gasps. On the 5th exhale, you let the air out and you stop.
Just stop completely.
Yeah, you relax your body, you put your tongue to the roof of your mouth, you close your eyes, and you hold.
And the underlying science of the hold is where the protocol delivers its real value. The source material uses a profound analogy to explain why the hold is so critical to the whole process. Think about building muscle or bone density.
Okay.
You cannot just eat a massive pile of calcium and expect your body to magically build a stronger skeleton. You can't just drink a massive protein shake and expect to grow large biceps.
Right, the body doesn't just absorb materials because they happen to be floating around in the bloodstream.
Exactly. To build muscle, you have to go to the gym, lift heavy weights, and physically tear the muscle fibers. You create the damage so that the body is forced to ask for the protein to repair it.
It needs a reason.
Yes. To build bone density, you have to place a heavy concussive load on the skeletal system so that the bone asks for the calcium to fortify itself. You have to create the demand.
And breathwork operates on that exact same biological principle. We can't just hyperventilate, flood the blood with oxygen, and expect the cells to absorb it all.
No, they won't.
By exhaling that 5th breath and then refusing to breathe in again, we are intentionally creating a severe deficiency. We are literally making our body beg for the oxygen we just introduced.
But, the physical demand comes with a massive mental hurdle. As anyone who has tried holding their breath knows, the panic sets in very quickly.
Oh, instantly. Your chest tightens.
Your brain starts screaming at you that you are suffocating and you need to breathe immediately. But to understand how to beat that panic, we have to look at what is actually causing it. Most people assume the panic comes from a lack of oxygen.
But it doesn't, does it? The body still has plenty of oxygen circulating from those massive gasps.
The panic is actually triggered by the buildup of carbon dioxide. It is a well-documented physiological response, often tied to what is known as the Bohr effect. As you hold your breath, your cells continue to produce carbon dioxide as a waste product.
Okay, so it builds up.
Right. And as that CO2 builds up in the blood, it hits an alarm bell in your brainstem. The brainstem doesn't measure low oxygen. It measures high carbon dioxide. That is what triggers the desperate urge to gasp.
And if you focus on that rising alarm bell in your chest, if you just sit there thinking about the CO2 building up, your breath hold is going to be incredibly short.
The panic will definitely win.
Which is why Brecka offers a very specific mental trick to survive the hold and push past that initial alarm. He says you have to get outside of your head.
You cannot sit there with your eyes closed, actively focusing on the suffocation response. You have to project your consciousness outward.
Right. While your tongue is on the roof of your mouth, you actively listen to the freezing morning environment around you. You try to hear a truck driving by on the highway a mile away.
Or a bird.
Yeah, you listen for a bird in a nearby tree. You track the faint sound of an airplane going overhead.
You anchor your attention entirely to the external world.
But you don't just passively listen. You form a vivid mental picture. If you hear a distant siren, you picture what the vehicle looks like going down the road. If you hear a bird, you visualize it hopping from branch to branch. You build this elaborate, distracting narrative in your mind to ignore the rising carbon dioxide alarm in your chest.
This raises an important question, though. Why endure that psychological battle? Why does lengthening the hold matter so much?
It all circles back to the calcium and protein analogy, doesn't it? Creating the demand.
Exactly. The longer you can safely distract yourself and sustain that hold through the CO2 alarm, the deeper the cellular demand becomes. You are making the body more and more desperate,
So it's primed.
very primed. So when you absolutely cannot hold it for another fraction of a second, and you finally surrender and draw in that huge deep breath, the absorption is immense. Your cells pull that oxygen in with maximum efficiency.
And once you take that massive breath in, you don't just go back to normal breathing. You hold that inhale for a moment, tongue still on the roof of the mouth, still listening to the airplane overhead.
Right.
Then you let it go, and you immediately start the next round of obnoxious gasps.
It is a deliberate cycle. You flood the system with supply, starve the system to create demand, and then flood it again to force absorption.
Let's lay out the progression. Because the genius of this protocol is that you don't just jump into doing 30 breaths at a time and pass out on your patio.
No, please don't do that.
The source provides a clear, highly achievable roadmap. Day 1, which is tomorrow morning for you listening, you start with just 3 rounds of 5 breaths. That is it. 5 massive, belly-stretching breaths, exhale and hold. Repeat that 3 times.
By starting small and gradually increasing the volume, you give your central nervous system time to adapt to the dramatic shifts in oxygen tension. You allow your brain to get used to the tingling and the lightheadedness without feeling completely overwhelmed.
The progression is simple. You add 1 single breath per day. Day 2, you step outside into the cold, and you do 3 rounds of 6 breaths. Day 3, 3 rounds of 7 breaths.
Just one more.
Yeah, you just keep adding 1 breath a day, slowly stretching your capacity until you eventually work your way up to 3 rounds of 30 breaths.
It scales alongside your growing tolerance for the discomfort.
But there is one ultimate non-negotiable rule to this entire protocol. The source is dead serious about this point. Once you start this routine, it has to become the absolute anchor of your day.
No excuses.
Brecka puts it bluntly. You can miss a flight, you can miss an important meeting at work, you can miss your morning coffee, you can even miss taking your kids to school.
Wow, his point is prioritizing the foundation of your physiology.
Exactly. You never, ever miss your 4 to 8 minutes of breath work. It takes precedence over everything else because it dictates how you are going to show up for the flight, the work meeting, and your kids.
It's setting the tone for everything.
So, what does this all mean for you? It means that you don't need to be a master of ancient meditation techniques to fundamentally alter your biology. You don't need a $1,000 biohacking gadget.
Not at all.
You have a free tool built right into your own chest that can clear your mind, spike your alertness, and physically alter your cellular state before the rest of your house is even awake.
It is powerful precisely because it requires zero financial investment. But it does require you to confront your own modern conditioning.
Yeah, that comfort trap.
Right. The source argues that aging is the aggressive pursuit of comfort. We counteracted that today by discussing stepping out into the freezing wind, into the rain, and forcing our respiratory system to fight for oxygen.
A real battle.
But it leaves you with a thought worth mulling over long after you take those headphones off today. If just a few minutes of engineered discomfort through breath and temperature can drastically improve our biology, what other modern comforts in your daily routine are secretly holding your body and mind back from operating at their peak?